Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Isaiah 65:15. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my children, for the Lord shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name. Now we know that he, Yahweh, surnamed the nation of Israel, or in the Hebrew, Yasharallah. And when you go to Isaiah 44, it tells you that. It say, one shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. And another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of Israel, Yasharallah. You see? Then you got Isaiah 43, verse 22. He say, but thou hast not called upon me, O Jacob. No, not 22. Salakia. Not 22. It was... It was 45, Salakia, Isaiah 45, verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect, I have even called thee by thy name, and I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. So there are two places where Yahweh say he surnamed us. He gave us a name, Yasharallah, and Yasharallah has his name involved in it. Because that's why he said, I have called thee by thy name. He said he called us by our name, and that's what Peter was quoting. Let me jump to Peter right quick and quote Peter. Really, James was bringing out what Peter had said, and it was very significant because this is how you're supposed to understand the whole New Testament off of what James was saying that Peter said. Let's go to Acts. Let's get to the point. Acts 15:17. That the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, thus saith the Lord who doeth all these things. So the Gentiles was people, Israelites living in other nations, because they were scattered throughout all the nations, and the way he can identify them was by their name. They had his name attached to them. So this is the same way we can identify the children of Israel here in America, because they had God's name attached to them. You see, they got Hebrew names, and his name was Israel for Yasharallah for the nation of Israel. So pretty much he was saying that these Israelites that's in these other lands, those are the people I'm looking for. I'm not going to get Gentiles. I'm getting the Gentiles, that the people in these other nations, that is Israelites. But when you realize their real nationality, it goes back to Yasharallah. But even the Hebrew language followed the Hebrews. The culture, the names followed the Hebrews. You see, their parents named them Hebrew names because they was Hebrews, and their parents named them Hebrew. You see, you gonna name your child what you are. You know, that's why people was giving their children their how you said, the heritage. They was passing down their heritage through the name. And that's what Yahweh did with us. And the evidence is with the records, because these Edomites, the so-called white people, the slave masters, they the ones that took good records. And what they would do is they would write down who they have on the ship, and who they selling, how much cargo. You see, the slave master renamed you once you got on the plantation, or once he bought you. He would brand you and put his name on you. But when you got on that slave ship, and them slave ship documents, that's when they put the name of the person, when they was counting everybody. Oh, we got this guy, he's 9 years old, and his name is such and such. We got this male, he's 28 years old, and his name is such and such. They had to put that on their log on the ship. You see, that's maritime law. You have to log in everything that you're doing on that water and the cargo, because it was a movie that came out, and the movie was based on the controversy of this slave ship. The people had got sick on the slave ship, and they had threw some of the slaves overboard, and they was trying to get insurance claims for these slaves. So how you gonna get insurance claims for people you done threw overboard? How do you know them people was even on the ship? Because you got their names documented into your log sheet of that ship, and you taking that log sheet to the insurance company, telling the insurance company, I had to throw my product off the ship. Here go the names right here. I need to be reimbursed for this situation. And they had a big court case about the slave ship rules and regulations. Should the slave ship have the ability to throw their slaves off the ship and kill them? You see, and that caused a major controversy to end slavery in Europe. That was one of the major controversies, to do away with slavery. But that was a significant story to bring out the point that these people kept the names of these slaves, and the Hebrew family members gave their children Hebrew names. That's a Hebrew culture and tradition. That's what I was trying to bring out. The tradition of the Hebrews was to give their children Hebrew names, and names that had Yasharallah embedded into it, or Yahweh embedded into the name. You see? So you can't get around the fact that these slaves that was brought over here to America was certified Hebrew speaking Israelites from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, Levi. You see? You can't get around that. And how the Bible states it, let's go to Zechariah, because Zechariah, he started his whole writing, or his records, he started them off with that situation, the Atlantic slave trade. You go to Zechariah, the first chapter, he lets you know, and this is how he words it. He say, I'm gonna get to the point. He say in 19, this is the first chapter of Zechariah, verse 19. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns, or the kingdoms, which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. You see, so when on these slave ships, these four horns or kingdoms, they were scattering the Israelites on these slave ships. And them four horns is the Spanish, the Portuguese, the English, the French. You see, them the four major horns of kingdoms that was spreading the Israelites out. And that's another way you follow language. The language of the colonizers was evidence of a kingdom. They had a kingdom and a government, you see, and a people. And the language identified the people. When you hear somebody speaking, boom, you know where they come from, you know who they are. And that's the same thing with the descendants of slaves. We was saying massa, and we was naming our children with Hebrew names. And we was certified Hebrew Israelites. Certified, fact, documented. You're going to get around document. Forget your belief. Throw your beliefs in the garbage can. We got certified documents. We got certified facts. We could take it to the court of law, and we will win in the court of law through the documents and certified facts. Evidence. And so it's a clear situation. Then when you go to Joel in our records, the Lord gave us prophecy to let you know that we was going to be scattered amongst these nations and sold. He even identified the people we was going to be sold to. You see, he said his people was going to be sold, and he identified them. When you go to Joel 3, it says the same thing. Verse 2, just to get to the point and quote what it says in verse 2, it says, "For my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land." You see, they scattered us on them slave ships with documented paperwork. And then in verse 6 it say, "The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border." You see? So it's documented in the history of the Israelites and their records that they was going to be sold by the Grecian, you see, by the African, or by the Hamites, by the Hamites. And then when you go to Amos documented it. Amos chapter 1, starting the whole book of Amos off with the Atlantic slave trade. Amos 1 and 6, he say Gaza. That's the Arabs. Arabs, they delivered up the whole captivity of the Israelites to the Edomites. There in verse 6. Then when you get to verse 9, it talks about the African. It say, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, the Grecians, the Edomites. Remember not the brotherly covenant. Remembered not the brotherly covenant. Tyrese. See, you got the Arabs, you got the African delivering us up to these Edomites, these red dragons. Then he let the Edomites know in verse 11, he said that you're not going to get away with your punishment. So, you know, he got everybody in here for what they did in that Atlantic slave trade. They try to act like it's not connected to this Bible, but it's all through this Bible. He documented it and put it in record, so ain't nobody can't deny it. Nobody can't tell no lies. Then in certified history, current history, that when they put them on them ships, they had to document everything on them ships. So I just want to bring that out pretty much. And so you got everything documented when it comes to the Atlantic slave trade. You got Christ in Luke 21:24 saying we was going to be put into slaves into all nations. You got brought up Peter. Peter was talking about the Israelites called by God's name was going to be taken out of all nations. That's who they was going to look for. So we know that the descendants of slaves the slaves that was scattered on the Atlantic slave trade, on them slave ships, was the children of Israel. The other documentation I was trying to remember, it was Deuteronomy 28:68. It tells you specifically that the Lord will bring you into slavery again with ships. You would be slave man and slave woman, and nobody was going to be able to save you. You wasn't going to go back to your homeland. You see, that was in the records. That was certified, documented history that nobody can deny and refute. But all praise to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, by Hashem Rekak and Dash. Double honors to the elders pushing this truth to the youth. Peace to the elect worldwide. Death to America, death to these red dragons. Shalom.